There's something quietly remarkable about people who grew up in the 1970s. Not loud, not flashy, but deeply different. Psychology suggests your mind was shaped during a very brief moment in history, a time that no longer exists, and likely never will again. Back then, childhood wasn't engineered, it wasn't optimized, and it definitely wasn't supervised every second. And because of that, your brain learned things modern brains simply don't. Most people today don't notice it, but those who grew up in the 70s do. You see the stress, the panic over small things, the inability to sit still, wait, or be alone. And you don't judge it, you just quietly understand something others don't. You grew up in a world where freedom came early, and responsibility came with it. And that did something rare to your psychology. Let's start with the first trait. 1. You learned how to solve problems without instructions. If you grew up in the 70s, boredom wasn't a crisis, it was a warning. If you ever said, "There's nothing to do," you knew what was coming next. Suddenly, you were cleaning, fixing something, or being sent outside, with no plan and no help. So you learn it quickly, figure it out. Psychologists call this self-directed problem solving, and it forms when children are forced to create meaning instead of consuming it. You build things, you explored, you made entire days out of almost nothing. That's why today, when something breaks, stalls, or falls apart, you don't freeze. You start thinking. You don't wait to be told what to do. You become useful. 2. Your nervous system knows the difference between danger and discomfort. You didn't grow up protected from risk. You climbed things you probably shouldn't have. You rode fast without gear. You got hurt, healed, and went right back out again. And every scraped knee quietly trained your nervous system. Modern psychology shows that managed risk in childhood lowers anxiety later in life. Your brain learned what real danger feels like, and what doesn't. That's why chaos doesn't overwhelm you, why emergencies make you sharper, not panicked. While others feel alarmed by discomfort, you instinctively ask, is this actually dangerous, or just unfamiliar? That difference alone makes you rare. 3. You're comfortable being alone without feeling lonely. You spent time alone, not because you were isolated, but because nothing was pulling at you every second. No notifications, no endless scrolling, no pressure to perform online. You lay on your bed listening to music. You stared at the ceiling. You wandered, sometimes with friends, sometimes without. Psychologists now refer to this as solitude tolerance, and research shows it's disappearing fast. Many people today feel anxious when left alone with their thoughts. Some studies even show people prefer mild discomfort over silence. But you learn it early that quiet isn't empty. It's where thinking happens. That's why you don't fear stillness. You understand it. 4. You develop patience that can't be taught anymore. Nothing in your childhood was instant. You waited for shows. You waited for photos. You waited to hear from people, sometimes days, and that waiting trained your brain. Psychologists call this analog patience, the ability to delay gratification without emotional distress. Because of this, you don't chase constant stimulation. You don't panic when things take time, and quick rewards don't impress you the way they do others. You're comfortable playing the long game. And in a world addicted to immediacy, that's a serious advantage. 5. You were trusted with freedom, and that changed everything. Perhaps the most powerful trait of all is this: you were allowed to leave. You went out in the morning and came back when the lights turned on. No tracking, no constant check-ins. That freedom forced you to make decisions early. Where to go, who to trust, when to leave, what consequences were worth the risk. Psychologists call this unsupervised autonomy, and it builds internal authority. You don't need approval to act. You don't need constant reassurance. You assess situations, adapt, and move forward. And that's why modern life can sometimes feel strange to you. Here's the truth most people miss. You're not outdated. You're carrying traits that are quietly disappearing. What looks like emotional distance is actually self-regulation. What looks like independence is competence. What looks like patience is discipline. You didn't grow up fragile. You grew up capable. And while the world has changed, those traits still matter. Maybe now more than ever. So if you ever feel out of place, remember this: you weren't raised for comfort, you were raised for reality. And that shaped you for life. If you grew up in the 1970s, drop a comment. I'd love to hear what part of this resonated with you. And if you enjoy psychology-based content that actually understands people instead of labeling them, consider subscribing.